You're watching Pyro Media Network.
Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Do I require more, better than we ever had before? Gon' be home, so I couldn't blame. Basic but I'm sure what do you want greater? I am no wave, be surfing. I show you how to get this paid, will I be stacking?
Ooh, I just every time I hear that song, I love it. Hey y'all. Welcome back to Bey Windows. Man, it has been a wonderful, wonderful week for me. And I've just been so excited to just get back here so we can have this conversation, because tonight we're diving into bodies. We're diving into bodies on the Jasmine Sullivan album. So I just want to welcome you, and we're going to have this conversation, all right? Because we need to. You may not realize it, but when we start talking, you're going to say, man, I wish somebody would have had this conversation with me when I was 11, 12, 13, 18, revisited at 35, and say it again at 50. Because it's a very important conversation talking about how we are utilizing our bodies, but more importantly, how many bodies we got on us. Let's talk about it. We're going to talk a little bit about how she womans differently. Let's get into it. Man, so like I'm telling y'all, this album, Jasmine Sullivan was so brilliant with this album, even the way that it developed and setting the foundation with this intro, bodies, or the lyrics. You know, she starts it out with a reflective conversation, right? This is that conversation that you have with yourself the night after you've been out, and you waking up and you looking in the mirror and you trying to figure it all out. You trying to piece it all together. And she said, gotta stop getting fucked up. What did I have in my cup? I don't know where I woke up. I keep on pressing my luck. I don't know where I woke up. Now look, I cannot say that I was out here sipping and drinking and popping and smoking, and I wasn't my life. It wasn't. For those of y'all who went through that, you know, by all means, I hope that you lived to tell the tale, and you don't have too many scars. But it wasn't my life. But what was my life was going out, getting in these relationships, whether it was a one night stand or I was in this committed relationship with someone. And the reality was I did not have a strong sense of self and control of my body. And then also I allowed a lot of people to use me in whatever way they saw fit, which put me in a position where I was not empowered to be able to respect myself the way I needed to value myself the way I needed to. And then also it put me in positions where it interfered with how I reached my goals ultimately, and not just in relationship, but then also personally and professionally, because I did not have a strong sense of self. It affected everything. And so this conversation, because we don't have it often as women, we don't have this conversation often as Black people. We just out here, y'all. Most of us are trying to be like, I ain't gonna name no names, but we out here having hot girl summers and hot daddy summers and whatnot, instead of really considering who we are and what it is that we desire. We're not thinking about how many bodies we're racking up and why. And Jamie Foxx said blame it on the alcohol, but Jasmine Sullivan said I had too many cups and I don't know where I was or what I was doing. And so we got to have this conversation, y'all. Why are we out here like this? What is it for? How does it benefit us? And more importantly, how do we grow? How do we grow? So we're going to start this conversation with She Womans Differently. So we have 3 women we're going to talk about tonight, y'all. These are our 3 women. And I'm going to tell you off bat, I have respect for all 3 of them. And I'm going to tell you why I have respect for all 3 of them. We have K. Michelle. So K. Michelle, as we know, is an artist. She's an advocate. She's an actress. She does a little bit of everything in entertainment. She's a model. She's done a lot of things. But one of the reasons why I respect K. Michelle is because of her growth process. She got into this industry when she was young. And like so many of us, she allowed everybody else to tell her who she was and how she was supposed to move, and also what her values were supposed to be. She allowed herself in the beginning, before she realized who she was and her own value, she allowed herself to be pushed left and right, however the industry pushed her. And a lot of times, especially when you are a Black woman and you get into this industry, the way you are told to behave, the way you are told to dress, the way you are told, your values are to be, it doesn't put you in the best light. You are the hoe, you are the vixen, you are the Jezebel, you are everything but a high quality, valued woman. And so to see her growth process and to see her be able to come from underneath that image, I have to respect her. Not only is she beautiful, and she had to figure out what that was too. She had the lips done and the nose done, and she had the ass done, and then eventually she said, you know what, that's not who I want to be. And what I really love is that recently she was on the show with Cam Newton, and she did an interview there, and in that she noted where the country artist in that industry, in that world, the country artists are supported and celebrated and actually expected. They get more success when they are in marriages, raising families, and have a more holistic way of living and existing, and also one that is respectable, right? But in our culture of being Black, in our culture of being in the industry as Black individuals, we are still tied to those stereotypes, and we know why. That's a whole other conversation. We don't have to get into it. But in that arena, it being passed around as a woman is normal. Being celebrated for putting your ass out all over the cover of everything that you can get your hands on is celebrated. And so I want to give kudos to Michelle, because she made it through, and as a woman, she's being reflective right now. She's deciding who she wants to be and how she wants to show up. And for that, even though she was woman and she was showing up differently than what I would have, right? She was woman differently. She's now coming to her own and she's figuring it out. And then we have Myzz Naturals. Man, this is it's such a beautiful, beautiful picture. Look, just look at Myzz Naturals. I don't know how many of y'all know her, but full transparency, I came across her initially on Jocelyn's Cabaret. That's where I came across. And when she came across my TV screen, I had to say, who is that? Because her beauty is just so captivating, and her energy when she was moving across that screen was just so divine. I said, who is this? Like, she knows how to work her body. I said, who? So then I did my research, y'all. And my research took me down a rabbit hole that I wasn't expecting, but it made so much sense. So this young lady, she was a porn star. And she was a porn star when she was in her youth, y'all. 18, 19, 20, young, before she really knew herself. She was out here. Now, I don't know her backstory. Myzz Naturals, if you're out there, I would love to just sit down and have some conversation with you and really get a chance to understand your why. But would I be a porn star? No. Have I thought about it? Yes. Yes, goddammit. Yes, I thought about it. Why? Because I have been having a body since I was about 8. And when you have a body and you're young and everybody around you realizes you have a body, the way you are not just looked at, but the way people want to possess you and use you, before you can perceive yourself, everybody has an idea of how they want to use you. And then in addition to that, when life is getting rough, that's the first thing they tell you to do. Girl, you better get out there and get on that pole. You better get out there and drop something, right? Because then our bodies become the way that we can survive. And for a lot of us, that's what we're taught, especially if you're beautiful, you look good, you stack. That's what everybody's going to say. That's the first thing. Life is hard. Go out there and hit a pole. And so when you get that messaging all the time, sometimes it sinks in. And sometimes you make that choice. And I know a lot of individuals that got into prostitution, they got into stripping, they got into whatever other things they want to do, escort service, whatever they want to do, simply because they were just trying to survive. And so they had to make that choice. And so watching her on Jocelyn's Cabaret, I saw a woman who was ready to mature, but who was hurt. Who was taking accountability and ownership for the reality that she had to step into that world and be everything that she was at that time. But she was in a space where she was wanting to grow from that. She wanted to be taken seriously as a person, as a woman, as an entertainer. And I believe that she should have the space to do that. And if nobody else understands, I understand. I think women understand. That when you have to make that choice between survival and being wholesome, if that's not your foundation, if you don't have a healthy circle, you're going to go with survival. And so again, even though she's womaning differently than me, and I'm saying womaning, y'all, we're going to make that a word. Even though she's womaning different than me and different than most of us, we can always take from her the grind. We can always take from her the reality that there's room to grow. And if anybody got a lot of bodies, it's Myzz Naturals, and it's on camera. You can roll back her Rolodex and see all the bodies she has on her. But the reality is that, does she have to stay in that space? Is that now her legacy? Nah, it's just a part of her story. And we can leave it just like that. It's a part of her story. And we're going to see what the rest of the chapters are. Because I'm ready to watch Myzz Naturals. I'm telling you right now. And you can do it with your clothes on, boo. Because you got it like that. Believe it. Hey, Miss Jill. I don't know. See, I'm a little conflicted about her because I don't know if I should be calling her Miss Jill or if she's officially my auntie. I don't know. I gotta figure that out. I gotta check things out on that one. But neither here nor there. We're gonna call her Miss Jill tonight till I figure out if she's my auntie or not. But Miss Jill Scott, man. Miss Jill Scott. Why? When I tell you, when I think about bodies, I think about my first encounter with Jill Scott as a poet. My first encounter with Jill Scott as a poet, she came across Def Poetry Jam back when I was young. I was still child age when I was watching Def Poetry when it was coming on HBO. And I remember her doing this poem called Nothing is for Nothing. Go look it up, y'all. It's worth your time. And so in this poem, she's telling the story about how as a woman, as a young woman, she was just letting everybody, do whatever they wanted to do with her and to her. She didn't have a voice. She didn't have an identity in that. She did not have control and agency over her body. She was just piling up bodies. And she wasn't blaming it on the alcohol. These were just choices that she was making to relinquish her responsibility and her voice and allow other people to tell her what to do with herself. So she was being felt on, being touched on, having sex with whomever, whatever. And she was telling that experience. And then in that poem, she talked about how she grew and realized that eventually she had to take accountability for herself. And she had to figure out who she was and what she liked and how she wanted to move as a woman. And so one of the lines that I love and that I quote very often is, she was a freak for everybody else at one point. And then she realized that she could be a freak for herself because that's what she liked. And there's a difference. And so, again, when we're talking about having all of these bodies on us, right? And for y'all who don't know, when you're talking about bodies, is how many people you've had sex with. But I also think about it in terms of not just how many people you've had sex with, but how many people that you've had physical interaction with. Because y'all know we was clothes burning pretty early. Don't play that game. If you didn't do it, I don't know what lock-ins you missed, but it was happening at the lock-ins. And yes, at the church. I don't care what none of y'all say. Tell the truth. Shame the devil. Because I was in the church, clothes burning. Don't do it. And so, whether you was clothes burning out here or, you was grinding on somebody's lap in the club and you was letting them fill you up, whatever. I count all of that. Why? Because we were doing it in stages and ages of our lives when we weren't considering the results. We weren't considering the effects. We were not considering how that ate away at our value of ourselves. And then also too, people's perceptions of us, right? We weren't worrying about none of that. And so when I think about Jill Scott, that poem comes to mind. But beyond that, to see her grow as a woman, she's had some real public things that have occurred. Her marriage, her divorce, having to raise her son, and some of the things that came with that, and her just learning herself and having to separate the artist, because Jill Scott is like none other as an artist, as a vocalist, as a composer. I mean, as a performer, there's not enough we can say about the Jill Scott. But as a woman, she's had to grow in the public eye. She's had to mature. She's had to find herself. And then she's full-figured, y'all. So we know industry-wise, that comes with a whole different issue because bigger bodies are not perceived as beautiful. But the way she wears her thickness and the way she rocks these curves, when I tell you I've learned so much. And I've had a few people in life tell me that I've reminded them of Jill Scott, which is also why she comes to mind. And it's someone who has agency of themselves and is earth and is thick and proud and is beautiful, but more importantly, who moves with love in all that they do. And I believe that that's Jill Scott. And so I feel like out of all of these women, there's some differences definitely that I can see in the way that she womans. But again, I have much respect because for anybody who grows up in the public eye and can do it with as much grace and as much integrity as the Jill Scott. You have to learn from that. You have to learn from that. And being able to speak very openly and honestly about your challenges, your desires, and your lessons, that is maturity. And more importantly, that's the kind of conversation and the kind of examples that we need to push in front of our daughters. It's the kind of examples that we need to lean into as women as we continue to grow. And we also need to put that example in front of our sons. Because here's the thing, son, you may meet this young woman at 19, but how do you respect her? How do you love yourself and her at the same time, even when you're meeting her and she doesn't love herself? Do you take advantage? Or do you shield her? Do you protect her? Do you help her not have just another body under her belt, but somebody who will protect her? Because I know I'm raising my son that way. So, Jill Scott, thank you for the example that you set. All right, we're going to cut to commercial, y'all. And when we come back from commercial, we're going to dive into some questions. I'm going to answer some things for y'all, okay? I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about my business. I want y'all to come and sit at my bay window and just come and talk with me for a little bit, all right? We'll see you after the break.
Hey, it's Pastor Kim from It's Just Kim Live Show, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Hey y'all, it's Nicole D. Vick from Nicole D. Vick Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
What's going on, y'all? It's Kwame Speaks from Kwame Speaks Live, and you're watching Pyro Media Network.
Hey, y'all, welcome back from the break. Before we went to break, we were talking about just how she womans differently. Okay. And we talked about K. Michelle, we talked about Miss Naturals, we talked about Jill Scott. And oftentimes we are so judgmental. Women, we are the most critical of one another. Okay. And I'm guilty of it too. I can't say that I am outside of that because we all fall into it. But we have to realize that just because she's not me and I'm not her, and maybe she made a different choice than what I would have made, and maybe she made some of the same choices, but I don't want to be honest about that. That doesn't mean that we have to be so critical and so nasty and so just vindictive in a lot of cases, when we can really just be more supportive and understanding of one another, and we can uplift each other. Because at some point we've all had to do and face the same situations, so we can understand when somebody has to make a different choice than us. And so, even though she womans differently, let's keep digging until we can figure out how we connect. Let's keep digging until we can figure out how to love and respect that individual, because there is some reason to do that if you are the kind of person who is respectable yourself. Yeah, I said it. Hit my inbox if you want to talk about it. So we're going to move on to some questions, because we got to keep diving into this conversation about bodies, man, because Jasmine Sullivan, again, the way she laid out this intro and set us up for this album and said, y'all need to sit down. Y'all need to think about some things, okay? Get sober in your mind and start thinking about how you out here having sex with people without standards. You having sex with people you're not even thinking about who you with. You didn't even thinking about your safety. You didn't think about how many people you didn't already have sex with. Maybe you had sex with 3 people last week and you done piled on 2 more this week. What phase are you in? Right? Because we go through phases and we talk about that whole phase often, but what is it really about? What is that whole phase really about? And it's really about us not knowing who we are and us not valuing ourselves and not having that foundational understanding of our own value, our own worth, and then also how to just get what we want without having to play the games or use our bodies to do it, right? So we're going to answer some questions so we can talk about how to do this. Question number 1. Come on, Kwame. How do you feel about the idea of using the body or the body being a form of currency in relationships? Woo, it's heavy. It's heavy, okay? Because we're not just talking about the body being a sense of currency like we were talking about with Miss Naturals or K. Michelle earlier, where they are in this industry or they are having to be in survival mode. And so then they're getting paid just to survive, right? I'm gonna do this blow job and you're gonna give me $100 and then that's how I'm gonna pay my cell phone bill and that's how I'm gonna eat. Or I'm gonna take these photos half naked so that way I can get, a $10,000 check, even though it's not really what I want to do, but that's what I'm gonna do because I gotta get this check. I gotta feed me and everybody else that's in my camp, right? So we're not talking about that. We're talking about like legit in relationships. Like I am in this relationship with you and I want you to continue to pay rent while you live here. So I'm going to just have sex with you. I don't have no kind of emotional connection with you. I don't have a mental, spiritual connection with you. I'm not even concerned about your goals and your dreams, your aspirations. I'm in this so we can pay the rent. And in order for me to get you to pay the rent, I'm gonna just keep tooting it up every Friday night like you asked me to, and that's enough, right? And so, like when we talk about being in relationships like this, I'm not good with that. I'm not good with that. Now, full transparency, I've been in those relationship dynamics. I know what it is to be in a relationship, just trying to survive out here. I went out on my own when I was 18 years old, man. And I had my son at 22. So I've had to be, I joke, I say I've been every woman, but I've had to make some of these hard choices where I'm like, man, me and my son have a roof over our head or me out here running pillar to post. And I've had to make that choice. And so am I proud of it? No. Did I do it? Yes. Would I do it again? No, because I've grown and I understand that my body does not have to be the currency in order to survive and move me forward. It does not. I can use my mind. I can use my skills, my gifts, my talents. I can have relationships and partnerships with people that has nothing to do with sex. It has everything to do with spiritual exchange. It has everything to do with professional movements. And it doesn't have to be based on my body because that eats away at my value. And so I don't agree with it. Again, I understand it. I understand when people are in that phase, but I don't agree with it. It takes more than it gives. And you don't feel that way when you're in it because you're just trying to survive. But when you have to be a fraction of yourself and you're forcing someone else to be a fraction of themselves, or you are living a lie, it creates more anxiety. It creates more mistrust. You're also living a very limited life. And for some of y'all might be living a life where y'all getting on jets and getting purses and having shoes. Some of y'all may be living a life where you just getting your phone bill paid and you feel like that's enough until it's not, because your person is not being cared for. And that's ultimately what matters. And so I don't agree with it. I feel like you should get out of it as soon as you can. Be honest with yourself. Now I'm not saying sit up here across the dinner table and say, hey, my brother, I'm using you. Hey, sis, I'm using you. And it's time for me to stop doing that. I'm trying to, turn over a new leaf in life. Don't do that. Because if you get cut, you don't inbox me because you did it wrong. That's not what I said. Now, what I am saying though is have a conversation with yourself first. Figure out what it is that you're really wanting. And if that relationship is just using your body for currency, or using somebody else's body for currency, maybe you having them throw that thing at you so that way you can pay their bills, whatever position you're in. If you really look at that relationship and it's transactional, and you're using that person's body, or they are using your body for that currency, make your move, get out. Make your plan. We ain't trying to be stupid about this. Make your plan, and get yourself to a position where you could be self-sufficient. And then you can create a relationship that's based on trust, honesty, that's based on love and appreciation, and where you are valued and that other person or people, however you get down, are valued. All right. Question number 2. Let's go. How do you navigate feeling comfortable or uncomfortable in your own skin in intimate settings? Man, so this is so important, because a lot of us are just going home with people when we leave the club simply because we just don't feel comfortable just being two people together, right? Like I don't feel comfortable having a one-on-one conversation and opening up my life to this person, so I'm gonna just open up my legs instead. Like, again, I get it. Been that person. My communication skills are low. My self-concept is terrible, right? I did not learn how to be intimate with myself, let alone with someone else. And so when you are uncomfortable in an intimate setting with an individual, you got to first ask yourself, why is this uncomfortable? Is it uncomfortable because this person is being rude? Is it uncomfortable because they're being too forward, or they are being too handsy, or whatever the case may be? Maybe they keep looking at your body instead of looking you in your eyes. Like, why am I uncomfortable about this? Or are you uncomfortable simply because you don't have the skills to be in that intimate relationship or that intimate setting? You don't have the skills. You don't have the communication skills. You don't understand your own body language. You don't know how to read someone else's body language. If it's that, like, therapy. Hello, therapy. Can't say it enough. They even have free therapy these days. Thank God for COVID. There's free therapy, cheap therapy, group therapy, just open conversations with friends and family, right? Not everybody. Don't go to everybody. Manal did say do that. Go to people who are credible friends and families, those who you see that are in healthy relationship dynamics. So that way you can get some insight, right? We got to have open conversation, y'all. So you can learn how to read people better. You can learn how to have these conversations. One of the other things is because we're going to use AI, okay? We're going to use AI to move us forward. You can get on, and this is the Chat GPT, they're not paying me for this. You might need to, but you can get on Chat GPT and type in like good questions to ask when you meet somebody you like, right? Like, if you can't produce these things yourself and you need some starters, like prepare yourself. If you prepare for work, if you prepare for school, if you prepare to cook dinner, if you prepare your clothes, if you prepare, you do all of this preparation work for everything else. Prepare yourself for intimate situations. And I'm not saying throw on the flick. Porn has its place. It's not where you learn how to be intimate, right? It is where you learn how to put your leg in that one position so that when they can do that one, that's different. But anyway, but you don't learn intimacy from porn. You learn intimacy from therapeutic spaces, whether you are watching a relationship show like Sex, Love, and Goop. Again, shout out to them. They're not giving me no money for this. But that is a really good show to watch where you can learn how to have these intimate conversations with yourself and whoever it is that you're wanting to be intimate with. So that way you can learn how to be more comfortable in that. But you also got to be comfortable with yourself. And I'm going to be real with you. Talking dirty is one of those things I do not feel comfortable with. The words itself, talk dirty, talk dirty, talk dirty. it still makes the church girl in me clutch her pearls. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you. And every time I hear somebody whisper in my ear, talk dirty, I chuckle. I chuckle on the inside first because it messes with the 9-year-old girl in me that said, "Don't be talking dirty like that." Like I chuckle. I freeze. It's not a thing I do. So I have to practice in the mirror talking dirty. I ain't gonna lie to you. I practice. I want to improve my intimacy. I want to make sure that person has a great time. I have a great time. And even though it may not be my default setting to talk dirty, it is a component of being intimate and being flirty. And so it's something that I have to work on. So don't be afraid to practice. If you can't do it with you, you can't do it with nobody else. So practice. All right. There you go. Question number 3. Have society's views on bodies influenced how I view myself? Okay, so let's bring up Kay. Let's bring up Kay on this one. Let's bring up Kay Michelle. So when I hear this question, I think of Kay Michelle. Okay. Again, she woman's differently than I do. Because society told this beautiful, brown, gorgeous woman who already had a beautiful body that she wasn't enough. Okay. And so she went out and she got some lips done. She got some nose done. She wore this makeup all the time. She got these nails. She wear hair down to wherever. She had her ass done, so she thought that there was a specific way she had to shape and transform herself in order to be beautiful. And so I definitely can relate to that, being a person who has always been a thick body. And I started out in dance first because that was what I was passionate about. And being the thick Black girl in the dance group all the time, I had so many insecurities about my body not being right. I'm also real bow-legged, child. Don't look. I'm not gonna show you. So I'm also real bow-legged. So being that my lines weren't right, in dance it's all about the lines. My lines weren't right. So here I am with these thick hips, this big ass, these big old titties, these bow legs, and it's real cute in the Black community. It's real cute in the Black community. I am a doll in the Black community. But then I come over here to this good old dance world, and they say, "Nah, boo, we not about to lift you. No, we need you to be a base." What? You mean I can't be on the top? I can't get lifted. And so like being in that, it absolutely affected me. Also, being a dark-skinned girl, that was also one of those things where you hear like, you beautiful for a dark-skinned girl, or I like light-skinned people. It just when you breathe in what society believes about you, you cannot say that it doesn't affect you. Now, what you do with it is what matters. What you do with it. And so I appreciate that I did have the foundation that I had, because my dad used to have us walk the runway. That's one thing. And even now I use that therapeutically. That was an imprint that my dad made for sure. So when we were little, this almost our whole lives, every time we would get up and get dressed and get ready to go somewhere, where it was school, church, a play, whatever, and he would turn on some music and make us walk the runway and cheer us on. And that was his way of course, boosting our self-confidence, right? And so if I didn't have that foundation to go back to, every time somebody would have said something to me, I probably would have broke. I probably would have tried to go out and get surgery. I probably would have gone out and done a lot of things. And then being a person who had a child at a young age, I was 22 when I had my son. When you have a baby, it changes your body. And depending on your genetics, it don't ever come back. Okay. Okay. It don't come back. And so definitely affected the way I saw myself. But now being in this space where I am embracing my body, I'm loving on my body. I'm not even necessarily hitting the gym the way I want to. I'm doing more yoga. I'm doing more meditation. I'm just doing more sensual things with me so I can have an appreciation of my body. Because if I don't love me, why am I going to expect someone else to love me? I'm going to just be out here throwing it around in a circle because I don't really have a value for myself. And I don't really care about, me. I just want to be touched by any and everybody because I don't have a standard, because I don't love myself. Right. So I have to love on me first, so then I can set that standard on what loving me is, and then share myself with someone who values that. And it's in that order. Man. So can I remember a time when I felt completely seen or invisible in a relationship? So I want to tell the time when I was seen, man. I had a lot of invisible moments, but we're not going to live on that block. So when I was seen, one of the things that I appreciated about a relationship I was in was after I got off of work and I did my check-in phone call, if this individual heard any type of frustration or tension, or heard that I had a challenging day, or that I was, anxious or anything, I would come in and like the entire apartment was cleaned. There was dinner that was already made. Bath water was run. Candles were lit. The room was prepared for me to have some quiet time to myself. And I absolutely appreciated that. And that is definitely one space where I saw that I was seen as a person. And so that was it set a bar. It set a bar for me of what being seen is, and how when you are seen, someone can respond. And so I definitely loved that experience. And so not only do I duplicate that with other people, but also it's an expectation now. It's a standard for any relationship that I'm in. So I loved that. Question number 5. How do you differentiate between love and lust in your own experiences? This is something it absolutely took me a long time to see. And when we think about bodies, we're not even taking the time to assess whether or not this person actually sees us, loves us, cares. We're not doing none of that. We're having a night. We're having a weekend. Maybe we have this fling for 3 months. And so all of that is lust filled. I don't care about your mind, body, soul, spirit. I'm not concerned about your goals. I don't even give a damn about how I affect you. Right. And so all of that is lust driven. When you are in a love dynamic, your communication, number one, changes. The way you are able to be open about your thoughts, your feelings, your opinions, your wants, your needs, your desires, your deepest secrets, right? That in and of itself tells you that you're in a loving relationship. When that person can make room for you as a whole person, and then there is room, and you're making room for them as a whole person. You're not sucking up all the air, okay? Because some of y'all be sucking up the air. It don't want to be that other person. It'd be your ass. When you want everything to be the way you want it to be, and you don't consider the heart, the mind, and the spirit of that other person, you're not the person that's moving in love. You're the person that's moving in lust. Whether that is lust for that person's body, lust for what they can give you, right? Lust for what they provide, right? So when you're in a loving relationship, the two of you are actually communicating and putting your wants, your needs, your desires on the table. And you all are being very openly supportive of one another to achieve goals, to continue to grow as individuals. And you don't own each other's lives. You're living life together. but you don't own each other. And so what that looks like is I'm going to ask you what your goals are for the year. And you're going to ask me what my goals are for the year. And we're going to support each other in actually achieving them, even if that goal may take you away from me for a while. It's okay, because I support your life, I support your growth, and I support you living your best quality of life. That's what love looks like. I just want to thank you guys again for joining Bey Windows tonight. We was talking about bodies, y'all. And we talked about how even if she womans differently, it is our responsibility to keep digging until we can find the thing that connects us, because there are connecting points. There are in all of us, because we all have the capacity to do and be the same. But then also we keep digging until we can find the value and the respect for that person. Because at any moment, you can be in a position where you are having to choose what your values are. Because that's life. That's life, y'all. And so I want to encourage each and every one of us, whether you are a man, woman, black, whatever, I want to encourage you to really sit back and consider where it is that you are in your life and your time. And are you out here throwing that thing in a circle because you want to? Now, if you want to, but are you throwing that thing in a circle because you don't feel like there's any other way for you to be loved, for you to connect, and for you to get what you want? And if you are that second person, let me tell you, come here, let me tell you, go to therapy, have some open, honest conversation with yourself, and really take the time to write out what it is that you truly want. And then I want you to work on manifesting what that is. And manifest. Go ahead and look that up. Go to YouTube University, figure it out. Because there's some things that you absolutely have the power to control. And the first one is you. Be well, take courage, and I hope you feel nothing but love and freedom from this conversation tonight.
To I require more, better than we ever had before. Gon' be home, though I couldn't blame. Basic bottom troll, what do you want greater? I am no wave, be surfing. I show you how to get this paid, will I be stacking?
Thank you for watching Pyro Media Network. For more information, please visit pyromedianetwork.com.